So joining us to talk about all of this is former Justice Secretary Sir Robert Buckland. And for more on what this will mean in an election, we will also speak to the doyen of British political polling as well. Let's talk to you first, though. Sir Robert Buckland, MP. Interesting watching the way that Sunak is struggling with the word Islamophobia today. What specifically was wrong about Lee Anderson's words to you?
Well, they crossed the line into anti-Muslim speech that had the mayor been described as a Jewish mayor being controlled by Jews, we'd have clearly said that was anti-Semitic. There's no hierarchy of hate here. It's similar language, just deployed in a different way, involving a different religious, ethnic background. That's why the line was crossed. That's why Lee Anderson was rightly suspended. And the party took action swiftly. It's a sad state of affairs, but I think it's necessary, bearing in mind the responsibility we all have to use the right language and also to focus on the real issue here, the question of extremism, far left extremism and Islamic extremism coming together in a sinister way that we see underpinning some aspects of the protests that we've been seeing since the 7th of October. You know, those are the real issues here. And sadly, this particular incident has now drawn people's attention back into a conservative argument, whereas really this is about wider society and how we deal with this clear and present threat.
Is it not an argument about the Conservative Party, though? I hear the points you're making and the wider issues at play. But ultimately, what seems to be happening is a kind of issue with ranks or language in the Conservative Party. Somebody like Lee Anderson was hired, some would say, in what rather looked like a sort of annoy the opposition brief. He's a provocative figure. He's said provocative things in the past. Do you think this type of event was therefore inevitable?
Well, the trouble is, when you get an attack dog, an attack Rottweiler, sometimes they'll bite you on the hand. And that's what's happened here, I'm afraid. I don't think this is a struggle for the soul of the Conservative Party. I think the Conservative Party is a very broad church. It has represented the best of British values for many years. It's governed our country, I think, wisely and well. We seek to bring together the country as, if you like, the national party. And that mustn't be forgotten. You know, the language of division doesn't have a place in the Conservative Party that I've been a member of for nearly 40 years. I'm older than I look. But seriously, I think it's an important point to make that when we, as leaders, as senior members of our party, get up and talk in public, that we not just get the language right, that we remember that we need to focus the debate on where it matters, on our opponents, on the enemies of this country who do not share our values, whether they're from the far right or the far left, and we need to take them on and challenge them and defeat them, because this is an important point in our history where the values of our country, for many people, seem to be being challenged in a way that we haven't seen before, which is why we've got to act.
And when I hear you say that, I mean, you're speaking obviously from a very moderate position, from a tolerant position, and that's clearly the party that you hope to see and want to get back to. But when I hear you speaking about sort of enemies of this country and problems with values and the values of this country going forward, I sort of hope and imagine you're talking about, for example, Putin and his aggression in Ukraine. But there are members of your party, clearly from the language we've heard over the last couple of weeks, and people in this country who think that the threat does come from within. So what do you say to them?
Well, look, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that there are some elements, sadly, in our society who don't seem to share our values and don't seem to believe in the rule of law or freedom under the law and British tolerance and respect, all those values that we've all been brought up with. But that also embraces, those values mean that many people from the different communities of Britain, including the Muslim community, share them. The idea that Islamists are therefore the same as Islam is frankly playing the game of the extremists, and we need to separate those out. We need to isolate the extremists and also at the same time celebrate the fact that so many Muslim people in our country love Britain, they share our values, they believe in this country, and they make a contribution that is valuable. And that's what was lost here, and that's what I think the party really needs to pick up on, reflect on, and make sure that we speak in future in language that absolutely gets this right.
Do you think there's any way for Lee Anderson to get back into the party at this point?
No, He doesn't seem to wish to apologise, and unless he retracts, then I can't see a way back for him.
Sir Robert Buckland MP, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Appreciate the chat.
Thank you.